Hi folks, and welcome back to the latest Genocide Dolphins development video. It has been a bloody long time, at least 5 or 6 months since I worked on the game, and that was the sub-games, not including the fact that I haven't touched the main game for 8 or 9 months, I guess. So this will be a bit of a just get rid of the jerks here. Sometimes you have to look around, get everything cached. This will be a look at Genocide Dolphins since a while ago, and I've been working on lots of visual effects, so it's hard for me to know what is new and what isn't. But for example, you can see on the wall there the light reflecting off the tiles, the TV emanating light, the reflections of the player himself. There's generally quite a lot of improvements visually. You can see I'm using normal maps on these walls here so the bricks come through. There's a bit of bloom there where the light is reflecting. I have new characters here. The bishops who try to come in, and the bulldogs who flock after you go on a bender. Oh, of course, it's because I've started recording, somebody has now started Skyping me. The chances are absolutely ridiculous. It's the middle of the night here, it's 5:18 in the morning, but of course clients want to talk as soon as they know you've hit record. So I'll just do a bit of a walk around. You can see new reflections on the red shiny surface there. Maybe some of the stuff is new, like the blue flare there. We have Yul Brynner over here, the star of the Westworld game that I was writing, which is going to be a sub-game. And I've done a lot of optimization as well, so a lot of these things are running a lot quicker. And when I say a lot of optimization, I mean a lot of optimization, which I will get onto in a bit. Yeah, let's just have a look around. There's a little rabbit, his legs are not moving. So if I go down here now, it looks quite different. I guess the lighting has changed a bit. I've worked on emission, I've worked on various things, reflections. You see the puddles now as well. Puddles are working quite well. I've just done a tutorial on how to do that if you're interested. It's on my channel. The post-processing effects too, there is chromatic aberration at the edges, vignetting. Look at that little frog. Lots of cool stuff like that. A couple of characters. That's Oliver. He's on his way to the way he runs. Oliver is on his way to have a drink at the bar in Stonehoff over there. In fact, does that bar even have a name? I'm not sure it does have a name yet. But that's where he's going. There's Albacure, and you can notice I now have shadows, reflections, like I say, bloom off the guy. A lot better speed. And you can see these pipes reflect nicely. The shadow of the actual player themselves, and you can see because the sun's moving, the shadows actually move along too. I'm about to get eclipsed, and all the bloom and reflection works with that. It's really quite nice. And most of the time you can't notice it, but actually most of the textures, all of the textures are at half resolution. You can notice it a little bit there with that jellyfish that appeared. But things like that I'm going to force up You can see it sometimes with the particle effects from smoke and things like when he landed. And the shadows and stuff, I am about to try a new system which supposedly produces better quality shadows. These are cool, but they're a bit blocky, of course. At this distance anyway, you wouldn't notice normally. And I think that's new as well, that planet over there with the sort of aura. The emission on these things is different. I've removed, there's Oliver, he's had his pint, he's on his way back. I've removed a lot of the lights that I had that are mixed and that. Well, I made a big decision, which was to ditch all baked lighting altogether, just because it's been causing me hell for a couple of years now. So everything is pre-computed GI, which is still presumably quicker than just ultimate complete real-time. So because I've ditched that, I've turned off a lot of the lights that were mixed, and I've turned on a lot of the real-time ones and stuff. But I've been optimizing them, trying to see what actually needs to be on and what doesn't. And you can tell that the guy's reflecting nice there. He's in a reflection probe zone, I guess we'll call it. And the water, at the moment when you go into the water, you don't get the noise and the water on the lens anymore. But the water is well, this is a weird thing, I don't know why. Sometimes when I run it the water looks good, sometimes when I run it the water looks bad. As you can see here, it just looks like a red tinted plane, which is, it's looking bad. Earlier on I had it working good. I mean, the water is touch and go in all parts. You can see here the blockiness of the water, the stuff, steam coming off the water, which is one of the things I was talking about, where I'll probably have to double those textures up rather than keep them in half res, but it's a small price to pay if only some steam looks any different. And I will be able to fix that. So it's you may not be able to tell, but it's running infinitely quicker. Especially I've got Bandicam running right now, and this is in the editor, but it is actually running infinitely quicker. I wrote a tool which I'll demonstrate in a second, called Oh Lordy, which can find things that are slowing down. It's a bit like the Unity profiler, but it works. No, I'm getting into the profiler. If you treat it really nicely, you can get something out of it, kind of. It's still pretty much useless for certain kinds of optimization, but combined with my own tool, I find it a lot easier to diagnose half the problems. So yeah, you can see the global illumination is working. I'm not having to worry about all the nightmare baking, although it still takes a long time to pre-compute the GI, but I don't mind that. Just do it before bed. Is that glass broken? No. Ah, got no arms. Died there. So I'm going to demonstrate my tool, which helps with optimization. I'm going to get into a nice spot just so we can appreciate the view too. Yeah, the reflections are working really good there. And you can see the emission, which I struggled over for ages to get that working, is working now too. That's a combination of just emission and bloom actually. And these walls are all nicely reflecting. This puddle is not working right now. Something to do with the reflection probes. And this is a new part, which is Oliver's little house. He has a place up here, right next to the train station. I'm quite jealous of his view actually. You can see the trains coming in and out. He's got a nice broken window. Those asteroids are new. And he has this computer here, which he powers from olives. It's a long story and I'm still trying to work it in, but he's going to be something to do with the reason that you can't get on a train properly. Wow, look at that. The light is bouncing off there and onto there. He's stealing the power and messing up Albuquerque's systems in order to do his own, whatever he is doing on his computer. See that nice goldfish and the glow? Well, this could be, oh well, there's a guy, oh no, this is a good spot to show off Oh Lordy. So if I go to my nerve jangler and I type Oh Lordy, now I can analyse various things. So F1, for example, will tell me all the NPCs. Now it slows down because it's sampling these guys every few seconds, every time the tick hits 100, I think. The green ones on the left are people who are visible and active, and the red ones on the right are people who are invisible. So the ones on the right have a counter whereby from 0 to 10,000. So every time it hits 10,000, they move forward 1 frame. What they would have done, 30 or 60 times normally. This is a major optimization because it means when you're not looking at someone, there's no mathematics going on for where they should go, what angle they should be at, and any of the processing. Only the people in green are now being processed. So you can see Oliver is on that list. If I look away, Oliver's not on that list, which means Oliver's not moving when I'm not looking at him, which is a bit of a shame, obviously. But if you look at Oliver there on the list, he's on the second right-hand list, the red one at the top. He's only got a counter of 150, which means he's only skipping 150 frames every time. And I can change that, I can put that down to 0 or 1, so he would keep doing his usual thing, even when I'm not looking at him. So it's an optimization based on importance, really, who's in the frustrum, and it's still a work in progress. And if I go to particle systems, well, this one, as I'm still working on, you can see there's many alive particle systems here, which are going and wrecking the game, I think. But I've been talking to a guy at Unity about this, and they've just added something in Unity 2018 that allows you to check that. So for now, I'm just going to ignore them and assume that everything's good. Flocking, the birds are not included in this, but everything else that can flock, like the koi and the seahorses and the goldfish, they are exactly the same as the NPCs. Green ones mean they're on screen and they're actually being updated, and red ones mean they're off screen and they're not being updated. Again, this is a major optimization. None of this was in play before, i.e. every fish was using physics and mathematics and raycasting to move around the world, even when it wasn't visible. You can see a goldfish on the top left there, just below the green text, doing his thing, and a one just above the red, and they are updating, and the other ones are all frozen, basically. Again, this is work in progress, and I might be able to adjust it to make the effect better, but so you can see all of us just still running away down there. So even this 150 isn't helping. I should probably put all of our more important people to 0 or 1 for the tick, so then they won't stop. But at least it shows that the optimization is working, and I probably will add the birds to that, although I want some element of randomness to be coming in still. F4 probes and lights. Now, imagine all of these screens, by the way, they were jam-packed with unoptimized things. These are the optimized versions. So right now these are all, what are they? These are all real-time lights. The ones in yellow are mixed, which means they're not doing anything because I'm running real-time GI, so they should be gone. I did have them in red when they were slowing things down with various shadow casting and things like that, but now I think I've turned off all the shadow casting apart from for the sun. And there's a way to go through each of these as well by using the cursors, and they go cyan coloured, and you can select each one and it'll be highlighted in the editor, so you can check if it's necessary and if it's got any weird settings. But they've all been weaned out because there would be bad colours here if that was the case. Although that's not to say that there's not real-time lights here that I don't need, and it is a shame to lose mixed and that, but the big light is just, you know, a nightmare. Rigid bodies, again, this was a screen you would not believe, full of nightmare rigid body calculations that were really slowing the game down. I've got it down now to the legs and parts of the body of my own dude, this guy, and that is mostly so that when you die he ragdolls, and I think possibly for the footstep system as well. So I'm living with these physics. Let me move somewhere else just so we can get a view while I'm talking about all this crap. Like I said, this is very slow when you're analysing it. Not goldfish, seahorse. And you can see the reflection of Dan there, and you can see loads of little animals. So I'll go to this. This is a new part of the world here. There's actually a door down here between two aquariums that will lead somewhere cool at one point, but doesn't yet. And you can see there's a mad, whoops, it's a bit buggy this bit. There's a mad face down there, and this is starting to become a sort of a cyberpunk kind of wet, you know, club sort of dark alley with graffiti. Notice the reflections there, which are slightly off the green. Probably shouldn't be reflecting there. I'm still trying to work out reflection maps and stuff, but I'm sure you would agree that looks badass. Sneezy lilies over there. Beads down here. Beads is ran by this bloke, who's just a guy from the asset store at the moment. And there is a guy who comes to Beads who is quite new, so I'm going to stand here and continue my talk about optimizations. And because I'm looking in a general direction, he should be in my frustum probably. The guy, oh, see the face in the reflection. The guy probably will come back and end up at Beads. Like I say, he should probably have a different clock. Green means that the vase, which you can see down there at the sneezy lilies next to that bouncer, maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. That means it's sleeping, which means it's rigid bodies, but it doesn't matter. Although I did find that even sleeping and is kinematic rigid bodies are still using a lot of CPU time. So, if you are optimizing, don't take sleeping as any kind of thing, or kinematic is kinematic. This tool I wrote allowed me to identify every rigid body physics that were on and turn them off, which is why you can see so few. There was over 200 or 300 the other day, and that's also again why it's running so much faster, even with Bandicam and even in the editor, and even with crazy reflections. Although one thing you might note about the reflections is that because they were baked at the beginning, the skybox is red, and right now it's actually pink, so I might have to exclude the skybox from the reflections, or regenerate them somehow, but I don't really want to do, there he is. I don't really want to do real-time reflections. He is, what's he called? I can't even remember his name. I had a few ideas about him that you could maybe like either use him or convince him to do things for you, or hire him like Shadowrun, or you just end up controlling him yourself, or you can do tasks. Oh yeah, he goes to Pajama Armor. He's a cool character. Something like that anyway. He should go into the bar, jump, but he doesn't stay long, comes straight out again, but that's going to be fixed obviously. So moving on from rigid bodies, like I said, a major cool way to detect all your problems. And hopefully you can notice that everything looks graphically superior, in my opinion at least, compared to what it did. Sound I haven't implemented yet, and quality I haven't implemented yet actually, so that's the end of Olodi. Sound, next up will be to list all audio sources that are playing, and find out how much CPU time they're actually using, and if they're even audible, and turn them off. Because that's all I was doing really with those things, which was finding any possible element that could be slow and then highlighting it in a colour, and then that was allowing me to go and pinpoint it and turn it off, in the tool to evaluate the speed increase. And he's back again, hungry for those beers. Down here you can see a couple of custom characters. This is one I had made a long time ago. It's based on a woman from Prisoner Cell H, although she doesn't look too much like her. And this one is based on another woman from Prisoner who I had quite costly. I spent quite a bit having her made, and she actually does look quite like the woman. You can't really tell because she's massively tall right now, but I'm getting a few people made up for maybe you remember the last scene that I demoed, I think, in the game was, main game was a cage fight, and I want lots of people from various prison films to be in there, and just iconic people I haven't made up, and to use as just little references, like Yul Brynner from Westworld. That's Rita Connors from Prisoner Cell H, and whatever I can afford, just so people don't say, oh, it's one big asset flip. Most of your stuff's from the asset store or whatever, and it's not either. A lot of this stuff I've actually built on SketchUp, believe it or not. Trains are operational, but I'm not going to leave this level for now. Then you can go in here right now. This is kind of stock from the store. I don't know, I'll probably change that up a bit. I want to make this a bit more alleyway-like, a bit more tight alleyways and that, leading to the train station and little places that you might explore, and just give it a bit more of that tight sort of cyberpunk alley feel that is in parts of the other cities. I've managed to get it, and I like this. It's a mixture of old and new, silly and serious, cool and ridiculous. And I probably should have done an update video a while ago in a way, but I just wanted to make some substantial progress, which I think has actually been done. And it just changed a lot though. I mean, I should have done some progress videos in between. It was, at one point it was really mad looking and glowy and that, and I think I went over the top of the bloom, and then I discovered the reflection probes, and that changed it also. There was a few style changes that have been lost in time, but then that's always happened with this game. Jerking a bit there. Of course, I've been improving the ability to wall run too, so if you watch this, that was pretty badass. So if you jump sideways at a wall, you leave that beautiful trail. I'm not sure if there's any purpose for it yet, but it's pretty cool. And the slide as well. That noise was originally on the wall thing too, but it kind of got annoying. So there'll be bits where you have to wall run to get over areas, I guess. I think the big main cities are, if you turn at the right angle, you can actually turn corners with it. The big main cities are going to be slightly different from bits that interlink them, because the cities like this are like, it's so hard to do everything and keep the frame rate up. So you probably don't really need to wall run so much in this one. You can practice, but in other parts there probably will be a need to wall run. Although who knows what's happening, you know, it's been going on for 6 years now. It's a long project and it's evolving still. Almost. Little seahorses. And you can see it's got a beautiful pink glow about everything right now. The reflections look good and there's bats going around. No, it's definitely improved. And I can slow-mo and jump up here, and look, we have all the koi up here. And they flock and swim around in various places. If I get up here, for example, and get a good look at them. Can't actually kill them as well right now. I'm not sure if this will stay, but yeah, I've turned my crosshair off, so it's difficult. And you can hear the ambient sounds are less music, more birds tweeting and dogs barking and machines whirring. That seems to work there best, actually. I've tried a lot of different musics and things like that, and just feels nice actually. When this level, at least, it feels nice. It's chilled. It's meant to be kind of a deserted level where there was once action, but there isn't really much happening anymore. There's a couple of people you see running around, like Alva and the other bloke. You got Get Your Money, who lives on your floor. That's nice. And but it's not meant to be action packed. There's a lot of sea creatures that live here, of course. Inside the house has been improved quite dramatically. I'll have a quick look in there. I say quick look, this has probably been half an hour or so. Well, out the back here, definitely been improved. Boxes, this is based on my real house, including the mess. And all the alcohol bottles. Well, it's a bit dark out here, but there's whiskey bottles there. And there's a flaming gala. He's going to be your mate. It's very dark out here at the moment, but there's a glass there with an empty cocktail glass with an olive in it. Remnants of an olive session. There's a couple of beer bottles. There's fags that have been stubbed out. Joint and ashtray. A few Amiga references out here. This is a Amiga Walker machine that everything got released out for the trash. I've got some garbage, old paint pots and stuff here. This is really quite realistic for what's out there. You can see the car in the background coming my way, see? They'll come over my house in a bit. Bit of rubbish down here, an old hammer. Looked at the living room, but it's definitely improved. There's a disembodied head now in the fridge. Lots of rubbish behind here. There's a dead body back here in a body bag. which is kind of hard to see when I fix the scale. The CD32 Amiga console there, shining bright. Abaddon, that's a film that me and my friend worked on. And Amiga 500 sitting here. Whoa, shit. It's a collision issue there, it goes really slow. And the bathroom has had a lot of work, well, a lot of work, some work. Cleaner than my actual toilet. And my curtain, my towel rack doesn't look that good for sure. And you can sort of walk onto these edges now. Main aim was to get you to see a nice view, but through the water it's kind of difficult to do that. There's a few points where you can run and jump off, like this point. You know, some sort of Assassin's Creed style special jump off points. And there's places where you can sit. I'm not sure if I've ever shown that, but there's a stool in here, for example. If I sit on that, I can sit on the stool. And I can do that in third person. Although his legs go through the bottom of the chair, which is an annoying issue, but it's quite cool that you can sit down. And you can sit with Yul Brynner and sit on the computer chair. Do the same, although it appears that I must have moved that chair since I laid the trigger, but you get the general idea. I'm going to write some limiter to limit the angle on each chair so you can't go through it like that, although I'm not really sure how to avoid the legs going through it, to be honest. And I think that might be it. As I always say, you do so much work and you think, oh, it's going to take hours to show this off, but really it is quite a small level. I've spent a long time optimizing, long time trying to make it look good, and those two things together are very difficult because you've got to make it look good, then you've got to optimize that, then you've got to make it look good, then you've got to optimize that, and it goes on forever. And you've got to give up at some point. You've got to be like, I can't keep making it look better at the cost of speed. And you've got to make decisions about what amount of shadows and things to use and what you sacrifice, which is a real shame because in the future, none of that will matter. You know, in a few years when the computers are better. So I'm going to include like a sort of ridiculously high quality preferences that are unusable by today's standards, but in the future people will be able to use them. So I could call them, you know, don't use till 2020, or something maybe more imaginative. See all the reflections, see how look good, and include that, or at least allow people in game to select it, so people can load it and go, all right, I will have 32 times anti-aliasing, and I will have a 2048 by 2048 pixel reflection map, or 16 shadow cascades. These things that we can't dream of right now. If you include them for the future, people might like that, and at least your game will not feel dated and annoying, which it really is the bane of a game designer's life, I would say. The performance issues, how good it could be, we didn't have to worry about performance. But it reminds me also of as the fish eats. Alright guys, it reminds me also of being a visual kind of guy. You know, if you make videos, the bane of your existence there is how good it looks, and then compress it to MP4 and it looks a lot worse, but still okay. And then you put it on YouTube and it looks fucking 10 times worse again, and you know, that just spoils it. And then you have to delete your source footage because it's like a terabyte or something. Notice all these pipes on you and stuff. So in the end, you put out something which, you know, didn't look as good as you hoped it would, and will never in the future look any better. So I'm trying to avoid that. That's syndrome. But it's not possible, you know. Like all the decisions I've made for all of these things will affect the AI. The fact that the AI can't update all the time, and you know, all those optimizations I just mentioned, they will ultimately hold the game back. And if you were smart enough to study the game, and I wasn't smart enough to make them all unpredictable, like for example, I could have a sphere around the main player, huge sphere that stopped people turning off when he wasn't looking at them or whatever based on that, but then the optimization goes out the window. So there's always a way where you can kind of you know, make a game look ridiculous by, if you sit down and try and study how it works and understand their optimizations. You can even do it to GTA 5, I guess. But that's the job of the game designer, programmer, whatever, is to try and make things feel convincing under all those limitations, I guess. And it's an absolute ton of blethering garbage I've done. So I think on that note, I will leave you until the next video. Thanks for watching.